It's time again to register for the Photo Imaging Connect conference at the Rio Hotel, March 1st and 2nd, 2026. Go to www.photoimagingconnect.com for more information on the program and take advantage of the early bird pricing.
Welcome to the Dead Pixel Society podcast, the photo imaging industry's leading news source. Here's your host, Gary Pageau. The Dead Pixel Society podcast is brought to you by Media Clip, Advertech Printing, and Independent Photo Imagers.
Hello again and welcome to the Dead Pixel Society podcast. I'm your host, Gary Pageau, and today we're joined by Kirk Voclain of, oddly enough, Kirk Voclain Photography. And he's coming to us from Houma, Louisiana, and he's been a photographer for 40 years, and we're going to be talking about how the photography business has changed and how you react to opportunities. So, hey, Kirk, how are you today?
How are you, Gary? Thanks for having me on the show.
So you are kind of an old school photographer in the sense you started with senior portraits, right?
Absolutely, man. I remember film. Remember film? Four-letter word starts with F.
Hey, it's coming back. It's coming back. Film's coming back.
I think that would be fantastic.
So tell me a little bit about what drew you to the business in the first place. What made you decide I want to dedicate myself to long hours and low wages?
Yes. Well, if you want the long story, which I'll make it short. No, I was 8 years old. No kidding. Reading the back of a Kellogg's cornflakes cereal box. And it said, save up your box tops and get a camera. Wait, I have this camera. I have it. Yeah. Anyway, and so I did, and I got it. There it is.
Oh, it's a Kodak Instamatic.
Instamatic 126 cartridge film. Remember those?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I got it. I take pictures, and I start adding up the cost of, developing and buying film and all that stuff. And I was like, man, this is entirely too expensive. I got to figure a way how I can pay for all this stuff. I asked mom and dad for money, and that didn't work. Anyway, so fast forward, and I always look here. You can tell this is the thing. This is it. This is the moment. You see this?
Yeah.
All right. This is the lens you look through.
Right.
See this? This is the lens that takes the picture. Well, that as a little 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old, that bugged me. I didn't know about parallax correction and all that fun stuff.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I just said, we can put a man on the moon, but we cannot make a camera that you look through the same hole that takes the picture.
Right.
Anyway, fast forward a few years, I'm going past this guy's truck that's doing a job with my dad. He was a painter, and there sits a camera. Wait, I happen to have that too. Sits this camera right there on his thing. I don't have the lens anymore. But there's this camera. And I'm like, dude, where's the hole that you look through?
Right.
So I go ask him about that. And he says, oh, no, this is an SLR. And I said, what does that mean, SLR? He said, single lens reflex. And I'm like, what does that mean? That means
the whole world is opened up to you, right?
Yes. The hole that you look through is the same hole that takes the picture. Dude, the angels were singing in heaven at this point. The clouds parted. And I'm like, I have to have this. So again, tried asking mom and dad for money. That didn't work.
Right.
So I got a paper out. I worked 6 months, saved up $200. Blow your mind, went to J.C. Penney's.
Right.
Bought a Minolta SRT 201. This is it. Okay. I slept with this camera that night. Okay. And a buddy of mine sees this camera and he says, hey, I'm getting married. Okay. Would you take pictures of my wedding? Now you would think I would have instantly went, yes, but I was a thinker. I was young, but I was a thinker, and I was like, man, I got to be in front of people, and I don't know what to charge, So I said, no. Dude would not leave me alone. Okay, would not, and he was like, please take pictures, take pictures.
So how old were you when this happened?
This is happening. I'm about 14, 15 years
14.
old.
So how old was your friend getting married?
I think he was 17, 18.
Okay, so he was on a budget, is what we're saying.
Welcome to the South. Okay.
Right.
I think my mom got married at 16, but whatever. It's another story. So anyway, so finally I say to him, no, and he will not take no. So in my little 14, 15-year-old brain, I think to myself, how in the world can I tell this guy no? And he gets it. And so I thought, I know, I'll give him a price. I'll say yes. He'll ask how much. And then I'll give him a price that's so high, so astronomical that there's no way he'll accept. So he said, would you do it? I said, yes. He said, how much? And I said, $100. And he said, okay. And so I remember it definitively, being at the reception, eating a meatball, thinking to myself, I just made $100 doing what I love the most.
Right.
It took me 6 months to save up 200 throwing papers.
Right.
And I actively started, I had business cards made, I started going after it.
Well, how'd those pictures turn out? I mean,
not bad, not horrible, more impressive than the fact that I did a wedding at 15 years old. More impressive is the fact that some idiot hired a 15-year-old to do their wedding.
Right, exactly. Okay. And you actually did the gig. I mean, honestly, if you look at what's happening in the market now, you get people who are hiring people to do weddings. They're not even either showing up or they're showing up and they're not doing the job very well. I mean, that's a whole nother story, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, that is how I got into the business. I was about 17. I was still in high school. And I thought to myself, man, if I could get into the local camera store, I could, be around all this stuff. I went to the local camera store at 17 years old. And I literally told the guy, listen, I'll mop your kitchen, I'll clean your bathrooms, I'll wash your windows. I just want to work here. Right. And the guy said, when can you start? Well, I worked there.
Right, exactly.
I worked there 9 years. I was eventually the manager. When that business went away, I'm like, I got all this camera gear. Right. I got all this stuff. I might as well be a photographer. Right. And the rest is history.
The rest is history. So talk a little bit about why you chose to pick senior photography, right? I mean, because you weren't really big into, weddings and things like that, even though you got your start. You're kind of known for being a senior photographer. So what was the choice on that?
Okay, I did my fair share of weddings. I did. But I was more known as the high school senior guy. Yeah. And anyway, short story long with that, I tried to be one of these volume guys. I thought to myself that this is the path. Right. And so, I went to the school. The school says, oh, again, welcome to South Louisiana. Oh, you have to speak to the school board. Right. Oh. So I called up the school board. They said, oh, you have to speak to Mr. Smith. Oh, so I called up Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith said, oh, no, you have to speak to Mr. Jones. I said, oh, no. Mr. Jones says you got to speak to April. April said you got to speak to Jan, who then said you got to speak to Mr. Smith, who I said I already talked to. And that's when I put it all together, that they all had their hand out. And they were waiting without any padding. Right. Nothing was going to happen. Right. So I said, okay, fine. Y'all want to play that way? I will bypass your system. I will market straight to the high school senior and get them to come to me, and I will take their pictures. Well, dude, it didn't take but a second, and I'm averaging $2,000 per senior running through this place. And I'm like, this is awesome. Right. They don't have to be here. They want to be here. Right. And it was a no-brainer. Right. And I did that for a gazillion years. So that's how that came to be.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things the volume business wrestles with, of course, is the, pay to play and all that. There's a lot of efforts in the industry trying to get rid of that. But like you said, there's certain areas where it's just entrenched and it's very hard for new people to get in.
Sure. I mean, and I should have known it. I should have known better, honestly, because this town runs on the oil field. If oil is up, this town is loaded. If oil is down, everybody's poor. Right. And the oil field runs on, well, what can you do for me? Right. I mean, that's what makes it run. Right. And so I should have known that, because that was the mentality here. But I didn't. And I was young, man. I was.
Well, and then, I mean, and your dad was a painter, right? So he had a little different approach. It's like, It's like
worse. He moved mobile homes for a living.
Oh, gee.
He had hired this painter to fix something that, they messed up. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So that was, but I'm saying that's a job where maybe you had to actually do real work, right?
My dad, yes.
Yeah.
This is one of the reasons why I'm a photographer. He wanted to pay me $1 a day to crawl under trailers and deal with sewage. And I'm like, I ain't doing that. I'm gonna be a photographer. Yeah.
At least you'll be upright, right?
That's right. That's right.
So when you're looking at like opportunities, right? You've branched out into different kinds of photography, right? You do real estate and some other things. Was that more out of necessity because you saw where the industry was going, or what was part of your thought process on that?
Sure. I asked myself this simple question because I noticed the senior portrait world kind of tipping people. It was harder to get them in the door. When they showed up, they ordered a little bit less than they were ordering. This is how this bar chart, this curve started to bend. And I was like, okay, something's got to give here.
Right.
I got to start taking note. And this is roughly 2016, by the way, in my world. And so I started asking myself this simple question. What is it? Like, for example, eating.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in the eating industry, you have a lot of customers.
Right.
Okay. Because I don't know. I've tried to stop. It's hard.
Right. Everyone eats.
Everyone eats. Everyone sleeps. Everyone wears clothes.
Right.
So there's certain industries where they got to have you. But let's be frank about photography. You don't eat pictures. Okay.
Right.
And so I've always said that what we do is a luxury.
Right.
And when it stops where it's not as luxurious, where, you're not going to make as much money.
Right.
And so I thought, is this happening now? Is this what it is? And so I reasoned to myself, what is it that I could do as a photographer that would be like eating, like sleeping, like wearing clothes? You got to have it. And I thought to myself, that would be commercial. That would be business. If I could go into a business. Now, what business would say no to this? I walk in and I say, look, if you spend $100 with me,
mm-hmm.
I guarantee you that $100 and let me photograph your product, you're going to sell more and you're going to make $1,000. Now, who's going to say no to that? Nobody.
Right.
And so that's what I started pursuing. I got the oil field here. It's easy to get commercial jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I started doing a little food photography.
Mm-hmm.
And then
so when you mean oil field photography, what does that mean? Here's the thing, I'm up north.
Yeah.
We don't really have oil fields up here, but it's almost like, it's not like you need to make them look fashionable.
No, it ain't about fashion. They use the pictures to attract new business. They use the pictures to attract employees.
Okay.
They got to put out the same corporate reports and all this other good stuff that all these other companies have to do. They got to do all the same stuff. It's just a lot colder and stuff like that. I photographed a piece of metal the other day. It was the most boring, horribly ugly piece of metal you have ever seen. In the process of taking the picture, I said to the dude who, was managing me and walking me around the building, because, you got to be all PPE'd up. And he's like, I said, hey, what does this thing do? And he starts telling me all the valves and the pressures and all. I said, well, if I wanted to buy one, well, what it costs? That piece of what I looked like, to me, it looked like junk, was over $1 million. It was like $1.2 million. I'm like, well, who's buying this? He goes, anybody who wants to regulate the pressure on the this and the that. And he starts telling me this whole story. They just needed a great image of it so that they could show people, look, we sell these.
Right.
At $1.2 million a pop.
And you're probably thinking in the back of your mind, now I wish I would have bid higher on this job.
You're doggone right. That's what went through my mind. I was like, dude, you're getting it for cheap,
Exactly.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
If you're a podcast host or someone wanting to be interviewed on podcasts as a guest, visit podmatch.com. Podmatch automatically connects ideal podcast guests and hosts together for interviews. We always say it works just like a dating app, but instead of connecting you for dates, it connects you for podcast interviews. Podmatch has connected over 85,000 guests and hosts together for interviews that listeners love, all while saving you countless hours of administrative work through built-in automations. If you're ready to level up your podcast interviews on either side of the mic, start today by visiting podmatch.com.
Well, but it's a different value proposition, right? Because obviously whatever this piece of metal does, it's very specific and it hopefully does it very well.
Yes.
So you really got to plan for, it may not be super complex, but it suits its need very closely, right? So what you kind of had to do is pivot into that world, right? Find photography that's going to suit the needs for those customers.
Yes. And then, of course, real estate, to me, that was like a no-brainer. Because I went to Zillow.com and I looked Houma, Louisiana, and I started looking at these houses that were $500,000, $750,000, $350,000, $1.2 million, and the toilet seats were up.
Right.
You could see the real estate agent in the mirror, and it was horrible photography.
Right.
Like, this is ripe for the picking. So I literally put it out on Facebook. And this is how it started. I said, if you've got a house you're having trouble selling, give me a call, text me, email me, DM me, whatever, and I'll help you sell it. Catch 22 is you have to have cell phone pictures of it, and you have to have the ability to give me those cell phone pictures for marketing. Well, someone contacted me. When I walked up, I was like, hey, here's the deal. I'll shoot it for free, but you sell this house, you owe me $250. And they were like, okay. Well, she sold it in like less than a week after the new pictures went up.
Right.
She wrote me a check, and she's been hiring me ever since.
Right.
So it's just fascinating to me that if you really set your mind to it, you can find stuff out there. Now, you told me earlier that a lot of your listeners are lab owners.
Sure.
Okay. So how is this making any money for labs? It ain't. And it hurts me to my core.
Right.
It does. It hurts me to my core that they use these images and they post them on the internet and they sell the house and they love me. Right. However, there are things that I do that makes labs happy. Like, for example, I try to appeal, and I got several clients that have me do stuff like this. The people that are selling the house, this thing that I'm taking pictures of, it's very sentimental to them. What if you gave them a nice album with all the pictures in it? And this is
the house they sold, right?
Yeah. This after it sells, you say, "Oh, boo, thank you so much." Can you imagine what that would do for you? And she's like, and most of them are like, "Oh, that's a killer idea, Kirk." And they buy an album, okay, and it's just a simple album that all the labs offer,
right?
And boom, they give them an album of the pictures. Another crazy thing that they do is the new owner, most of the time they're selling a house because that person's buying another house.
Right.
Well, they will have me go do porch portraits, and it looks like that they handed them a $250 gift for me to show up and take their pictures. Reality, they pay nothing for this. Okay. Because it's a little plastic card that the lab makes for me. It's got a cool picture of the couple and their baby on the front porch. Right. And it's got, how much, what you're getting and all this other good stuff. And the real estate agent hands that to their client and said, look, let me show you what I got for you. So that turns a real estate job into a portrait job. And that is good for labs because those people want prints.
Right. Yeah. And that's one of the things is I think on the lab side, they've got to really start thinking about, that printing is not an automatic process anymore, right? So you got to find ways to monetize, which I'm sure in the senior business, you're seeing all that too with, cards and graduation announcements and all those people repurposing your images for that. Are you involved on that side of it? Or do you just hope that once you give them the package that they're also printing, like you said, senior graduation invites and stuff like that?
Yeah, like with high school seniors. Yeah. Let me find one. I got one handy. I do like cards, and almost every senior does buy that. Here you go. Here's one. Just like a little card.
Yeah.
And it's got all their pictures inside.
But I guess you handle that though.
I do. I put this all together.
Yeah.
There's a fee for the card, and I explain to them, and this justifies it. So if anybody's listening, you're looking for a way to get into the card business, this is important. You say they're $3 or whatever you want to sell it for, $3 a piece times the number you want. That comes with envelopes. Oh, value, see? So the envelopes come with it, and that price covers the design charges.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, I'm not just paying $3 a piece for a card I can get from Vistaprint for a buck.
Right.
You see?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm actually paying for Kirk to design this card.
Well, I think that's part of the challenge, right? Is you got to A, add value, and B, make it easy, and not leave it up to them to do it. Because I still think there's a lot of like, I wouldn't say budget senior photographers who are like, hey, we'll just give you a gallery and we hope you buy something.
Yeah, there's a ton of them that just you take pictures, they hand them like the images on a thumb drive.
Yeah.
And hope. I don't know. To me, that's silly. I mean, yeah, I have a thumb drive price too.
Hmm.
You want to buy a thumb from me? It makes it worth my while. And if you buy it, it's like $100 an image. That's how I do it. Simple. And a lot of them buy that. Okay, great. That benefits me. And a lot of them, okay, this will blow your mind. Here's what a lot of people will do. They will buy the images from me, and then they'll go have them printed at Walgreens or somewhere like that. Don't like the images because, oh, by the way, every senior I photograph gets a nice book mailed to them with all the cool pictures in it. All right, so now they know what good quality images look like.
Right.
Their thumb and their thumb drive, and they go walking into Walgreens and it don't look good.
Mm-hmm.
They will call me on the phone and say, how do I get like 2 8x10s from you?
Mm-hmm.
And what I use H&H Color Lab, and they have InView, which is like an online ordering system. All the labs, everybody has that now. And so I will tell them, I don't call it H&H and I don't call it InView. I tell them it's my lab. Okay, I own this. And my lab will set up an account for you to where you can send off your pictures, and I'll send you a link, and then you just order whatever you want, and my lab will mail the pictures straight to you. And that's what I did. And it works great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and plus you're dealing probably with a little higher margin, obviously, on that kind of order.
Absolutely.
So when you made the switch from analog to digital, right? Because I'm assuming you're not still shooting with that 126 camera, right? What were some things you were considering? Because you hear people who like wanted to stay with a certain brand, or they wanted to have certain features and things like that. Doesn't sound to me like that was a big consideration for you per se. You wanted like a workhorse.
Yeah, and I wanted something that wasn't going to break the bank. Lord, I remember when that first digital started rolling out. What were they? 20
grand, yeah.
$40,000 for a camera. I was like, nah, that's ridiculous. Now, I know a lot of photographers jumped in and did it, and God bless them, but I just couldn't justify that. There was no way. So I waited and I waited. I remember Fuji came out. I don't even remember the model number, but it was a little tiny. It was like a little point and shoot looking camera, and it was affordable. It seemed like it was $1,500 or something like that. And I remember I took that camera. And I've always been super proficient at Photoshop. So I took the camera, and Fuji wanted me to do a class at the PPA convention. So I said, okay, how about this? I can't remember, DS300 or whatever the number was.
Right.
I can't remember. So I said, okay, how about this? I will show everybody how to, because this was unheard of.
Right.
I will show everybody in that class how to make a 30 by 40 from your camera, 30 by 40 image.
Right.
And they were like, dude, can you do it in 15 minutes? Because we have like 15-minute classes. I'm like, yeah, I can do it.
Right.
So what I did is I had a super beautiful model posed all perfect, and it was a comfortable pose where she could hold it. And I literally took that camera and went click, 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 click across her head, click, 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 click across her shoulders, a click, click, click across her waist, click, click legs, all the way to the floor, all the way to her feet. And I pieced all of that back together in Photoshop and made one huge file that I then ordered a 30 by 40 from and had it on display. This picture was done with that camera. Now, you want to learn how to do it? I'll tell you how to do it.
Right.
And it blew people's mind because it opened up your mind to the possibilities that, just because it's a little tiny chip and a little small file, how do we get around these things?
Yeah.
That's, and then you asked about the conversion. What I did is it was the Canon D something 30, maybe. Was there a D30? I don't remember. Anyway, it was the first affordable SLR type camera that Canon came out with.
Mhm.
And so I bought one, but I was still film. I was Hasselblad and clickety click and making a living, and everything was wonderful. But what I did was I shot my normal session, and then I told the senior, I was like, or family or whoever, whatever it was, I was like, hey, there's this crazy new technology out now where you do like digital. I just want to do one image of you. You want to do it? And I'll show you the picture right away. Oh, yeah. So I would go click one image.
Mhm.
I would then bring them in front of the computer and show it to them and do a little Photoshop magic, something to it, fix their eyes, something. Oh, and then I would include that in the album.
Mhm.
Well, that year that I did that, people ordered more from that image because it was perfect. You know, it was perfect in every way. Everything was enhanced. Everything was perfect.
Mhm.
People ordered more from that image than they did from the film images. So the next year I said, that's it. We're jumping in with both feet
Mhm.
and shot everything digital. That's how I made the switch.
But you still got your Hasselblad, I'm sure.
Nope, sold all that.
Oh, really? Okay, because I mean, you pulled down the Minolta SRT, so I'm just wondering if you still had
Now
that one
this
too.
just goes back so far, you know. I didn't
Yeah.
keep any of the Hasselblad stuff.
Oh my goodness. So what do you think, if you were going to be talking to a youngster, your young gun today,
Mm-hmm.
about getting in the business? I mean, I'm sure you probably, I don't know if you still attend conventions or not, but if you
Oh yeah.
if you were to be talking to somebody coming in, what would you be telling them?
Okay. Do not get into debt.
Right. Okay.
That is the number one thing. Do not. And it's like, oh, sure, Kirk, you done made your millions. How in the world? I'm like, no. I never, ever got myself into debt. Ever. Not once.
Mhm.
And it's like, well, didn't you say you sold your studio? Yeah, I did. Well, didn't you have to buy that on time and all from the bank? Yeah, I did all that. But the note, the studio had to pay its own note.
Right.
If that, you know?
Yeah, I know. Right. The business had to pay for itself.
It had to, or else it wasn't going to be done. I remember way back in the day, there was a wide angle lens for the Hasselblad that I wanted. Dear Lord, this goes back so many years. I was doing weddings. I'm needing this lens. And I'm like, golly, but it's $2,500. I don't know, $3,000, who knows? And I remember I bought
That was probably
it.
just for the case was probably 3,000.
It might have been. And it might have been $5,000. It was a lot. That for back whenever it was, I just couldn't stomach it. But I put it on a credit card. And what I did is I calculated that it would take this much to pay back that credit card in 6 months if I paid this much every month.
Right.
And that lens had to make that much money
Mhm.
every month. And as a result, people would, if that wasn't happening, I was going to sell the lens.
Mhm.
And so it did. And I paid off the credit card bill. So
Mhm.
that's what I mean about, you have to be logical about those types of things when it comes to business, and do not get yourself in debt, because I know so many photographers who are not photographers to this day anymore because they got themselves in so much debt that when things kind of got a little slow, they couldn't live through it.
So one of the other challenges that photographers have is kind of, the rampant competition, not only from, moms with cameras and, that kind of thing, but also just from people, hey, I can take a good senior portrait
Absolutely.
with the iPhone because I got 17 lenses on it.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's a whole other competitive environment that is
Yeah.
relatively new.
I fight that because so many high school seniors have the brand new iPhone. And if you listen to Apple, that iPhone does better than what my Canon does, which is not true, but they like to make people believe that.
Right.
And so people buy into that. And I have tons of seniors who photograph each other with their iPhone. And brace yourself, everybody knows the words and you hate it. It's good enough.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, it's not good enough. It should be special. It should be wonderful. And that's what I try to portray now. That's what I try to help people understand.
Yeah.
Is that what I can do for you? If you gave me your cell phone and let me take the pictures of you with your cell phone, it's going to be better than if your buddy who goes to school and takes pictures of you with your cell phone.
Right.
Because I know what I'm looking at.
Right.
And stock, like I dabble a little bit in stock photography, and
Mhm.
it just fascinates me every time one of my stock images sells and I make 39 cents and it was done with a cell phone. It still cracks me up,
Right. Yeah.
But yeah,
Stop.
it's a constant fight. It is a constant fight to try to help people realize that good enough is not acceptable.
Mhm. Well, especially when there are still talented people out there, right? I mean, the challenge is, of course, when you talk about your PPAs and people like that, is, as an industry on that side of the fence, selling that expertise as value in the marketplace, right? It used to be, your PPA credentials carried you,
Yes.
and now people don't even use them anymore when they're,
Yeah.
except for maybe somebody over 60. But, not to knock it, I'm just saying those credentials don't mean as much in the marketplace anymore.
I remember when I became a PPA master. I mean,
Mhm.
people highly respected that. They thought, wow, that's the coolest thing, right? But nowadays, people do not care, man. They do
Yeah.
not. You're right. They don't care.
Yeah, which is kind of too bad, because like you said, when you're trying to differentiate between, the average run-of-the-mill Joe or Jill with their camera and someone like yourself who's highly trained, been in the business for a long time and knows how to compose a good picture regardless of the camera, right? That's the difference, right? You're not
Yeah.
relying so heavily on the artificial intelligence that's in an iPhone to do
Yeah.
the job that you've learned over 40 years.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So for goodness sake, as if you don't have enough going on, you also wrote a book.
Yeah.
You,
It's funny because
so,
okay, this
so
has been in my head for 40 years, man.
right. So, but it's not unlike most photographers, it's not a photography book per se, in that you're giving people tips and tricks on how to run a photography business, or you're not trying to sell workshops, or you're
No.
not trying to sell some online course.
No.
It's actually a thriller
It's a novel. Yeah.
with a photographer as the protagonist. So tell us about Double Exposure.
Okay. So to understand this, so many photographers are going to relate to what I'm about to tell you because it's so true. So all the photographers out there, you're going to love this. But that with a camera around your neck and a bit of confidence, you can go anywhere.
Right.
Okay. It happened to me. In fact, it literally happened to me just a couple of weeks ago. I was at like a pickleball tournament with my son-in-law, and we were waiting in line because Drew Brees and Andre Agassi were going to play each other, and so we waiting in line, and then all of a sudden, here comes a dude, got a camera around his neck, walks up to the security guard. The security guard says, "Excuse me," and the guy says, "I'm the photographer." "Oh," he says, "come on in."
Right. Right.
And I was like, I should have done that.
Yeah.
I should have put a camera on my back. I'd be on the front row.
Right.
And so anyway, that this has happened to you over and over and over again at events. You can go places, you can hide. I mean, you almost become invisible if you got a camera around your neck.
Right.
So it hit me one day, what if a spy did that? What if a spy used professional photography as a cover? Anyway, that was 40 years ago. And I have written and rewritten this in my head for 40 years as to, I places like I was playing golf one time at this golf course in Cabo. All right. And the cool thing about this golf course is that you play 3 holes, and then there's a comfort station and it's all included. You get a tequila, and you get a margarita, and you get a taco, and then, okay, great, that was fun. And then you play 3 more holes, and they bring you right back to the comfort station. Same one. And then you play 3 holes, and they bring you to the comfort station. Anyway, I thought to myself, this would be a great meetup for a clandestine meeting of a bunch of spies, because you'd be sitting at the table having your meeting. People think you're playing golf for 4 hours, but in reality, you just sit there for 4 hours. Well, that's in the book. Okay. That I had to put that in the book.
So were you really a spy, though, is the question?
Am I a spy? Well,
yes.
Probably not. But I'm not going to deny, because there's so many things in this book totally are things that have happened to me. The prologue, the very beginning, it talks about sneaking a prohibited item onto an airplane. Okay. Now, I will tell you, I've never snuck a prohibited item onto an airplane.
Right.
But 40 years ago, I was going to some photography event, had my camera bag full of stuff, including a tripod. And what do we call that thing on top of our tripod that the camera sits on?
It's a pistol grip.
Pistol grip, exactly. And why do we call it a pistol grip? Because it looks like a gun. Well, the security, I'm going through security, my bag's rolling through. All of a sudden, two big dudes are on my shoulder. The dude is freaking out. The machine's beeping. And he's like, I have to look at this bag. And he pulls the bag and he's pulling. I'm like, go ahead, dude. I got nothing to hide. Mm-hmm. And he pulls out the pistol grip. And that's when it hit me. I was like, oh, man, that looks like a gun. He says, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And I'm like, dude, keep digging. It's a photography gear, okay? Anyway, short story long, no problem. I'm allowed. I go through. Well, then I start thinking to myself, what if I wanted? What if that was all a ruse? What if I was really trying to sneak something?
Right.
This would be the perfect way of doing it. So that, of course,
that's part of the thing too. So the book is just coming out right now, right?
Yes, it literally, hit the shelves last month.
Okay, great. So where can people go for more information about the book and about Kirk Voclain photography in general? I want to pitch the book and hear about your business after that.
If you go on Amazon and search my name, Kirk Voclain, KirkVoclain, you'll find the book. If you go to kirkvoclain.com, that is my author's website. Mm-hmm. You can read all about me and the book and how this whole crazy story got started. If you want to see my images, that would be kvphoto.com. That's the photography website. And why not, since I'm pitching, I also own a website for professional photographers where we exchange ideas and keep each other abreast of things. It's pro4um.com, proforum.com. All right.
Okay, great.
That's the book, dude. That's in the book because I was like, Proforum could be how the spies communicate with each other on this forum, right?
Sounds awesome. That's great. Well, listen, I can't wait I'm going to check the book out. I've already looked on Goodreads. There's a giveaway. I'm going to try it out. I'm going to check it out.
There is a giveaway right now till December 5th on Goodreads.
Anyway, best wishes for you and for your success. And I hope I run into you in person when we're doing clandestine secret things.
That's right. We're spying on the industry.
There you go.
Thank you for listening to the Dead Pixel Society podcast. Read more great stories and sign up for the newsletter at www.thedeadpixelssociety.com.